It's sort of a slow week for new releases, so I figured why not talk about a shark movie that came out 2 weeks ago. And plus, the embargo for It Chapter 2 is this Tuesday, or else you guys would be watching that video right now. So, let's talk about sharks. 47 Meters Down, Uncaged is the sequel no one asked for to 2017's 47 Meters Down, starring Mandy Moore. And speaking of sharks, many years ago, I was involved in a shark attack, and every time I close my eyes, I'm still in that deep blue abyss with nature's perfect killing machine.
How does it feel?
Yeah, I still have the toy shark, don't ask questions, and the craziest thing is, that's my most viewed video on my second channel with like 2.3 million views. I don't understand YouTube. And before we dive into this review, big thanks to the sponsor of this video, and this isn't a joke, it's just coincidentally the best sponsor I could ever have for this movie review. Surfshark VPN. If you want to stay secure and save 83% off and get an extra month free, just use the promo code FLICK and check out the link down below. Okay, let's talk about this movie. This movie features 14 girls who go diving in a ruined underwater city that's really just a few long hallways and large rooms where it's very dark and all you see is bubbles for 90 minutes. Now when it comes to shark movies, I've always had a fascination with them. I love them. There's something about sharks that are terrifying. Why? Well, they actually exist. If you go into the water, a shark is going to eat you. That is my mindset ever since I was 5 years old and I watched Jaws. I love shark movies, or at least really good shark movies. I'm a huge fan of movies like Jaws, or even Jaws 2, or Deep Blue Sea. But the thing about shark films, you have to care about the human characters. That way, when they get eaten, well, you sort of feel something. You're sort of sad, and it matters, and there's tension. In movies like this, you just want to see everyone get eaten alive instantaneously within the first 10 minutes of the movie because you hate all of the characters. Or at least I did. The first act of this movie is just really boring. You have two stepsisters and they're polar opposites. One's really popular, the other one's sort of a shut-in, a recluse, and they're forced to go together on this boating trip to sort of bond. But at the last second, they decide to ditch that and go scuba diving in a dark, scary, watery hole. Now on a positive note, the premise to this movie doesn't sound that bad. It sounds like a good setup for a shark movie. A group of divers go swimming in an ancient underground city while blind sharks who have evolved to be that attack them for 90 minutes. Yeah, that sounds okay. Within the first 5 minutes of them diving into this ancient city, the worst jump scare in movie history happens. It was the funniest thing I've seen in a movie theater in the last decade. Here's what happens. You see these girls swimming around this dark underwater environment, and they notice this fish that only exists in dark environments, and they're like, oh, cute little fishy, fishy, fishy. And what I'm about to show you is exactly what happens next. This isn't an exaggeration for comedic effect. This is what happens. Ah! The fish screams at the camera. The fish screams. And that's the point in the movie where I gave up. But for the sake of review purposes, let's keep talking about the movie. The execution in this film is done terribly. Now, I understand that this film didn't have the largest budget ever, but the most frustrating thing about a movie like this is you could see room for improvement, that they easily could have re-edited, reshot some of the sequences to give more suspense, to get the audience on the edge of their seat. But instead, they just give you stupid jump scares. For example, there was never that scene where you could see the POV shot of one of the girls with the scuba gear and hear the heartbeat underwater and see her slowly going into that dark abyss with the music slowly building up. But what you mostly see throughout this movie is just little hallways that are super dark and a lot of bubbles and shaky cam underwater. Now, one other aspect about this movie I want to talk about is all of these girls are slowly running out of oxygen as they're scuba diving, and they get lost and they're stuck in this ancient underwater site, and they keep talking back and forth. Even though their oxygen is running out, they just keep having dialogue for the sake of having dialogue in the movie. But it's not only that, because they have masks on and it's dark and they're underwater, the characters, or at least the screenwriters, felt like audience members wouldn't understand who was talking to who. So at the end of every sentence, these girls always say the name of the other person they're talking to. It goes something like this. I'm so scared right now. Do you guys see the shark? Becky? No, Jessica, I don't see the shark. What about you? Hey, Beth, where are you, Beth? I don't think I got any of their names right, but it doesn't matter, and it was sort of distracting when they kept saying each other's names just for the sake of doing it. Plus, if you're in a death-defying situation where you're running out of oxygen, you think you would talk a little bit less. And movies like this shouldn't have a ton of pointless dialogue. They should focus on suspense and eeriness and let the visuals do the talking for the movie. Sometimes in a suspenseful horror film, silence is the best thing that you can do. But I feel like this movie was made for an audience who's really impatient, and didn't want to do that. Did I already mention I wanted to see everyone get violently eaten within the first 10 minutes of this movie? Because that's what I wish would have happened, because watching this movie for a full 90 minutes was sort of excruciating. It was boring. The only time I really enjoyed this movie was maybe the last 10 minutes, where you actually have a little bit of suspense and it gets fun and the pace picks up. This movie's nowhere as bad as maybe a shark movie like Sharknado, but at least a movie like that's self-aware. At times this movie wants to be a serious movie, but with screaming fish, it's hard to take a movie like this serious, and I felt like it should have just went for it. It should have been more like The Meg, for example. It should have just had fun with what it was doing. The first 47 Meters Down was not a very good movie, but somehow they topped themselves and made an even worse movie with 47 Meters Down Uncaged. It's not a very good shark movie. It lacks suspense, good characters, it has terrible cinematography. I'm going to give this movie, hang on. I'm going to give this movie an F. It has no redeeming aspects about it, and even the bad shark movies that exist are at least more entertaining than this one. So here's my question for you guys, and let me know down below. What is your favorite shark movie of all times, excluding the movie Jaws? Let me know that down below. And by the way, before I go, big thanks to the sponsor of this video, Surfshark VPN, because without them, well, we wouldn't be making movie reviews. We'd be in a cardboard box behind the movie theater, eating stale popcorn. If you guys are like me and you use the internet while you're at the gym or a hotel and you're on Wi-Fi and you want to stay secure, definitely check out Surfshark VPN. This is a true story. Years ago, I was at the gym on the Wi-Fi that everyone else was using. I think I was doing bicep curls that day, as I usually do. And the next day, I noticed that someone stole my credit card info and bought a whole bunch of stuff offline from like some shoe store. And that's one reason you should use Surfshark VPN, because it encrypts your data so no one else can steal it. And one other great thing about a VPN is it allows you to use the internet in geo-restricted locations. For example, if you go overseas or go traveling and you want to watch your favorite TV shows on Netflix, for example, well, you can use a VPN that makes you look like you're in your home country and watch everything that you typically would. Or if you live here in the US and you want to watch shows that only premiere in the UK or Australia, for example, well, guess what? With a VPN, you can do that. And one other awesome thing is you can avoid internet censorship. So if you live in a country that doesn't allow you access to certain internet sites, well, with a VPN, you can do anything you want. You can get Surfshark VPN at the link down below. Enter in promo code FLICK for 83% off and 1 extra month free. If you need a VPN, I highly recommend this one. The link's down below. Save a few dollars. As always, guys, big thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. That way, I can see you next time.